Okay, I am so excited to be sharing just a little bit more about my reflections and kind of what I've been experiencing since being in Panama. This feels like take 7. I have tried to say what I wanted to say so many times to get this video out, and I'm really hoping that on this take, what needs to be said and what you need to receive comes out of my mouth. So maybe, I hope if it's helpful, I think actually what I'll do is just share, because I can't seem to get my thoughts together, and whenever that happens, I turn to writing. So if you'll allow me, I would love to share with you something that I wrote. I wrote it to myself, but I wrote it while I was recently here in Panama, and I think it sums up just what this experience has been for me thus far. And then maybe I'll use that to kind of segue into where I'm at, why I did this move, what I'm experiencing, how has it been, how has it nourished me, all those things, challenges, whatever comes up. And I hope that you see yourself in the parts that make sense, and then the parts that don't, you can leave behind without feeling the pressure to take them on, right? So let me share a little bit here. So I say, Kat, we've done so much reflection, so much praying, hoping, and working to create our dream life. I finally know what I want out of life, and surprisingly, it is less, and not even at all, about what I want to get. It's about what I want to give to this life, to my future love, to my son, to my daughter, to my mom, to my friends, to my siblings, and most importantly, to God. And what I want to give is love. I want to give my whole heart, fully, without fear and without ego, just pure love. And by giving it, I will surely receive it. So then the question is, how do I become a woman full of pure love? So I didn't finish it. So this was a journal entry actually that I started, but you can see there's no sign off. So I hadn't finished it yet. I rarely finish my journal entries in one sitting. I come back to them as I feel complete. But yeah, like it's crazy because a dear friend of mine, he had asked me what my word of the year is. And I told him that my word is heartful, like the word heart and then full, like a full heart. And man, does that take space and slowing down and time to get to. And so that's why this move has really felt like such an aligned move for me, something that just feels really right for where I am and what I needed. Not just, I think, what I needed at that time, which was just 2 months ago. I'm talking about it like I did this move years ago. Your girl moved like a few days before her birthday, and I'm still only a couple months after my birthday. So it hasn't been years and years, but even just in the short 2 months of being here, it's been deeply impactful and deeply exactly what I needed. So just a little bit about my story is I can go into lots of things, but I'll share I think the things that I feel most are important for why I did this move. But I was a consultant. I worked for a consulting firm for just shy of 10 years. A great consulting firm that was very, good to me in many ways and gave me so many awesome skill sets and tools and ways of being professional and ways of learning how to conduct a business that made me like really proud of who I was and made me an asset to the companies and the clients that I worked with. And also, it was a tough nearly 10 years, right? If you know anyone who's in, these high pressure jobs, not just consulting. I mean, I think any job, if you're a physician, being a lawyer, working in customer service, consulting, banking, finance, I mean, there is such an emphasis on what you do and how much money you make being tied to your identity. I even had, at one point, I had a podcast, which I still have my podcast, but it was under a different name. It was a podcast all around success, and as a woman, how do you balance success and other parts of you? And I've kind of transitioned out that name and sunset that name because it just no longer is the message I want to give to women. This idea that goodness in your life, good things to come to you, has to be worked for and so difficult to get and so exhausting to get is just not true. And I know because I have done things both ways. I've done them the ways where you're trying and like very forceful in it, and I've also done it the way where you allow it to be easy, where it's meant to be easy, not in a bad way, but you welcome the ease and you put in what I think is care and love to nurture that thing to come to fruition. I think those are two different things. So I had been really the last few years of my consulting role feeling, okay, it's like it's time for me to leave. And so I did. Actually, I left, and then right after I left, I kid you not, that was a year ago, my mom and I said, let's go around the world, like let's do a trip. Because I think after I had left, I was ready to not just depart from that job that was too high pressure and just, it no longer was what I wanted. It wasn't giving me the benefit, the same joy that it was at one point. But that leaving of my job, quitting my job, made me think about my life differently. Like, how do I want to think about how I'm spending my time differently? How do I want to think about how I'm existing in this world, moving in this world? And yeah, like, how do I just drop into my life rather than rushing from thing to thing, event to event, brunch to brunch, doing all these things that are really full, having this crazy full life, busy life where I was traveling nearly every week, leading workshops every week, going out. I was living in Atlanta for a decade. So quitting of that job led me to see things differently and want differently from my life. So my mom and I actually planned a trip to Spain. I had studied abroad in Spain during college, and I was planning to go back there. Like when I quit my job, I thought, okay, I'm gonna move to Spain. Like, I know Spanish, kind of. It had been almost 8 years since I had seriously spoken Spanish, but it's come back even since being here quite a bit. And I kid you not, we were 2 weeks out from our trip to Spain, and it was Valencia, Spain, that we were gonna go check out. And my mom said, well, what do you think about Panama? And I said, I don't really know a lot about Panama. Like, why Panama? And she said, well, just look into it. We can go after our Spain trip, we can go to Panama, and check it out as well. And so, I started looking into Panama. Again, this was a couple weeks before the trip to Spain. And I'm looking into Panama, and lo and behold, I see this gorgeous property, and I just fell in love with it. And I know people say, like, don't just fall in love with the property, but I'm one of those people that if I see a home and I'm like, ooh, like, that's a home. Like, that's a nourishing home that I can build on. I can grow a family in. I can have, a space where friends become family and I build community. I'm that chick that's like, oh no, I'm into that. And so I came across the space. At some point, I hope to show it to you all, and I just fell in love with it. And hopefully you'll fall in love with it as you see it, as much as I love it, and as much as it's given me just in the last couple months. And so then after I found this gorgeous home, I really then started looking, because of course you're gonna first look and just see what properties are out there, and then you're gonna do your research around the actual country. So I started looking and started researching more about Panama, I should say. And that's when just all the goodness that Panama had to offer really surfaced around it being really stable and a great economy and all those things, right, that matter and that are so, so important. But even still, that wasn't even why I made the investment. What made me make this investment in this home is what I saw, the land that I saw, how I saw people talking about whether they were expats or native Panamanians talking about their time in Panama. And then I told my mom we're canceling the trip to Spain and we're going to Panama, and that's what we did. And I fell in love with it. So that's like the synopsis version of how I got to Panama. I will do a separate video on the home buying process and how long that took. It took about a year from the time I saw the property and fell in love with it to the time I moved in. It was actually almost exactly a year. So quite a long time. Very different than or purchasing a home in the States, which is fine. And so I'm here. I would say that this move has been nourishing and loving. From the incredible people I've met, all of the previous, the previous owner was so gracious with her time. She drove my mom and I around several times, welcomed us into her home several times, gave us all the information around the home. I mean, it was such a beautiful transition, and that taught me and showed me just how much she really loved the home herself. But from that experience, the transition from the previous owner to myself, all the incredible neighbors that I've met and people who've opened up their homes to me and showed me all the ways and invited me out when I didn't know anyone at the time and taken care of me and let me know all the little tips and tricks and things. And then just the incredible people I've met from my church community, my gym community. And again, my Spanish is improving a lot, but it's not perfect. It's definitely not, I would say, anywhere near fluent at the moment, but I know Spanish enough to be functional. But I think the reason I say loving is my word is because it just to show me you really don't need language like that, a deep understanding of the language to connect as a person, from person to person. And so, yeah, like everyone is craving connection and love and authentic joy and authentic being known by someone, right? Really being seen. And I think if you're able to do that, you can drop into any country, any city, whether it's Panama or wherever it is for you, or a city in the States, doesn't matter. Other thing that this trip has really meant for me is it's given me a chance to kind of reset so many of my expectations around like social norms and communication and give me a way to just reset, not just with another person, even with myself, my relationship with myself, my relationship with time, my relationship with work, my relationship with my body, so many things, with my hair. Like I could go on and on because it kind of was like a clean slate, right? It was me who is still working remotely, but in this different country. And like, how do you balance those two things? And so maybe reset is a strong word, but it's challenged, it's opened up my perspective of what my relationship looks like to each of those things. And it has been a challenge in some ways because I work with US clients and I'm here in Panama. And so how do I balance like wanting this slower pace, this gentler pace, with still the expectations that much of the world, at least Europe, the US, are operating on around timing, work, ambition, hustling, and all those things. And to be honest, it's still like a tension, like that tension between being ambitious and also rest. That I'm balancing that myself, what that means for me, right? As someone who did all of these things in real estate and coaching business and had all these different, things that my friend and I were doing to make income off of our real estate and rentals and events and all the things. As someone who has that history of like always making it happen, always finding a way, always working, always being the one to be reliable, to bring it through, to make it work, to make it happen. It's like, how do I hold on to the parts of that feel really good for me and let go of the rest? I'm basically working right now every day remotely, and I find that I like doing something right with my focus, and I love doing work that's impactful. And I certainly know that this whole earth is so much joy and fruit to be enjoyed and experienced, right? And so I'm still finding that balance of how do I explore Panama and honor the responsibilities that, you know, I've built over time, right? That's just the reality. I didn't come here with no responsibilities, which I'll share maybe in a different video, but yeah, your girl has a lot of responsibilities that I have solely with my own investment properties, with friends, with clients. The list goes on and on. So the expectations are there, and how do I do those lovingly and responsibly and also enjoy this experience? So there are so many things I can say. It's just opened me up entirely. As you can see, I have a little kitty cat. I actually have 2 cats. They were a double adoption because the adoption agency was having difficulty getting someone who wanted to take on both of them. And I fell in love with one, and they asked me, well, would you take the brother? And I said, sure, of course, no problem. And now I fell in love with both of them, like the day I brought them home. So just things like that, like being here in Panama has made me like, yeah, I'll try it. Like, I will try it. I'm really open, I think, just to trying life and doing things differently. I hope that you take something from this, whether you're someone who's been wanting to try a move to a different state, different country, travel more, whether you've been wanting to maybe just travel solo, right? Maybe you're not someone who steps out of solo trips, you know, and does it on your own. Or maybe you've been wanting to be more exploratory with your, I don't know, your current community, the current place that you live, and just get out more. Maybe you've been feeling like, oh, I actually want, seeing this girl talk about being in Panama and trying something new, like I want to start dating again. Whatever the thing is, I hope I hope this gives you what you need. One thing that I will say that this trip has taught me is it is quite literally never, ever too late to start over. It's never too late to start over. To be messy with things sometimes. Like, we put all of this pressure on ourselves to pick the right life, to pick the right job, get the right car, pick the right man, move to the right city, look the right way. The list goes on. And the more I think about it, I'm like, first of all, I believe in a God who will always cover you. I stand by that God will always cover you, regardless of the choice that you make, because the reality is some of our choices look absolutely crazy, and still God will cover you. He's covered you up until this point, and he will continue to cover you. And so this idea that you have to do something and get it so exactly right, or you've ruined it somehow, ruined it being your life, or ruined the possibility, or ruined what could have been, or you're behind, is so false. It couldn't be further from the truth. And so my encouragement, and I think what this trip has taught me, is to let go of like having to feel like you need to get it right, and instead focus on your intentions, right? Why are you doing this thing? Why are you doing this move? Why are you picking that man to be with? Why are you picking that job? Is it about ego? Is it about the money? Or is it about being the woman of God that God has called you to be? Is it about serving your community in the most impactful way, in the way that, like, you know, only your skills, your strengths, your talents can do the serving? Is it about allowing yourself to feed yourself for a little bit, right? Just pour back into you, to give, not just to give to a person, but just to give the fullness of you to this world, right? To show up fully in your brightest self. So I think when you start to focus less on getting it right and focus on having heartful, right, loving intentions, good intentions, I mean, at that point, it's kind of like allow yourself to make the healthy choice and see where it takes you, right? See where God takes you. Because again, his covering will always be with you. And that's really what this move has been for me. People have asked me like, oh, like, you know, how did you pick Panama? And how do you know that Panama was the right move? And did God tell you to go to Panama? No, I have no idea. Honestly, I don't. I don't. Because to me, that's not always how I hear God. I don't necessarily hear God sometimes telling me to take this step, do this thing. I hear him in the peace that I have once I've made a choice. I hear him and I feel him when I feel covered in a storm. I know he's always there. And so regardless of the choice that I make, the messy choice or the wrong choice or whatever the case may be, I truly believe that there is always a way if I allow God to be my driving force. And thinking back, for my move to Panama, the intention was for me to show up in more love, for me to give a more loving version of Kat to this world, for me to be more joyful, effortlessly more joyful. And I know that word is like saying effortlessly or like easily is a bad word for a lot of women, especially a lot of Black women or women of color in general, right? Because we are so capable and so seen, so overly depended on, so overly seen as being, oh, she'll figure it out. She got it. And so this idea of wanting to do things a little bit more effortlessly can feel, I don't know, countercultural. It can make you feel guilty. But for me, I knew that I just wanted to love more effortlessly. And I felt like in my current environment that I was at, I was in Charlotte directly before moving here. I just felt like I was jaded from being able to do that. Beautiful city. Charlotte is an incredible city, North Carolina. In general, the Carolinas are beautiful. And I had allowed myself to become jaded by certain things I experienced. And I just needed to get into like the earth. Like I needed space, I needed land, I needed to cultivate, I needed to heal, I needed to be outdoors, I needed air. I wanted to hear God and experience him in a different way. And I will always feel like when you can get in his earth, like outside, I will always feel like that is where God meets me, because that's where I meet him, if that makes sense. So like I was saying, I hope the parts of it that relate to you land how they need to land. I promise I will actually do a more, hey, what do you need to know about Panama? What do you need to consider before moving here type of video. I will do that. I want you to have that, especially as a woman of color, especially as a single woman of color and not moving with someone else. But for right now, I just wanted to share with you how this move has treated me, how this move has nourished me, how this move has loved me, and I've loved it back. There have been so many funny little things that have happened that haven't even been a thing, like getting into a car accident in my first week, or a snake in my house, or a tarantula in my house, because I don't know, I'm in a different space where I'm like, pure love. Like, yeah, there's a snake here, but also I live in the jungle. You know, so yeah, I hope this spoke to you. I adore any person that is wanting to show up in more love, more joy, more patience, more kindness. And I hope that this video gave you a little bit of that encouragement that you can do so, even in whatever environment you're currently in fast-paced New York, or whatever relationship you're in, or whatever family dynamic you're in. You can still choose how you want to show up. You don't have to give into what has been the norm that's no longer aligned with how you want to be in this world. So if you want to be a more loving person, you don't have to play games and relationships, or if you want to show up in more kindness, you don't have to engage in drama. Like, you can choose regardless of your environment, how you want to be. I am sending you so much love. Thank you for putting up with this crazy, disorganized video. And yeah, please let me know what types of conversations would be helpful. This is kind of the dynamic that I want to have with you. I can do vlog stuff, I can show you my life, but I just want to keep it real. I want to keep it easy for you. I want to keep it peaceful for you. There are tons and tons and tons of channels you can go to find out all the tactics and all those things, but I just want to talk with you. So let me know what you would like to hear. Much love.